The SEC play, Arkansas versus Tennessee. That says it all. Tennessee, obviously, with a lot of returning players from last year, and you got a Hall of Fame coach in Rick Barnes. They're playing outstanding basketball. You look at their records and who they played. They've been tested and won on the road at Wake Forest, I think, their last game. Their losses have been to one of the same teams we played, which is North Carolina, and then, of course, we lost at Houston, and I think they lost to North Carolina and Villanova. And Villanova's undefeated, so that tells you they're battle tested, and it's a team that's gotten better. You know, a lot of people look at the Williams kid, and rightly so. He's an outstanding player, a double waiting to happen. Great body, plays bigger than his size. But I think they got some other guys that are playing well. The Bowden kid is having an outstanding year, shooting 60-some% from the three-point line, and that means you can spread space to the floor. The Bone kid is running the show for him. So you got luxury, a lot of depth. And so in our depth, it's going to be a will. I think they like to get up and down the floor, maybe not to the likings we do, but they've got the depth to play. So it should be an outstanding game. You know, last year we had an opportunity to go down and play early, and we found a way to win down there, making free throws going down the stretch. So, but this is a new year. Everyone's undefeated. The championship race is on, and I guess we're looking forward to getting into the family, is what you want to call it. We've got hopefully a lively atmosphere here in Bud Walton Arena with our fans coming out sold out. But more importantly, I'm looking for us to continue to get better. That's what I want to see our guys get better. Address the rebounding. One of the things they do well, they attack the offensive glass. They shoot it and go get it. That means they shoot a lot of free throws, and they shoot those free throws well. We got to continue to value the basketball. We got to continue to trust one another and sharing the basketball. Great movement, body movement, and again, great atmosphere. Should be a great ball game.
All right, well, no questions. Can I raise your hand? We'll start your point.
Mike, I remember at SEC Media Day a few months ago, you said you thought there were a lot of teams that were going to have a chance to win the championship. They weren't going to hand it to Kentucky or various teams. After the preseason, it looks like there's a lot of teams that'll have a shot. Kind of what's your feeling about how the SEC played in the preseason? A lot of teams had big wins, and just kind of how the league looks going into conference play, and how if you lose some conference games, it's not going to hurt you because the league RPI is pretty high.
I think that was probably the telltale sign of it all. You know, our teams went out and played. The coaches and the prospective teams went out and played quality schedules. They won games, whether it be at home or on the road, but they played against quality competition. And I think that set the stage for now as we jump into conference play. Now, you know, our conference is as good as anybody else in the country. And like you say, going to and losing on the road doesn't kill you as much as had been maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But I thought they started last year. And that's a tribute to our coaches and, you know, to the SEC office for kind of mandating some things, but I think you got to win those non-conference games, and we've won our share of non-conference game as a conference, and so now it sets the stage as we get ready to go into conference play. I think it bodes well for our conference, and that's exciting basketball when you got multiple teams, and I'm talking about any team in our league. From 1 through 14 have an opportunity to win a championship. Matter of fact, we're in first place right now. Everybody's in first place, Bob.
How do you feel about your team going into conference play, and just where you thought you'd be, or ahead or behind, or where
you know, with us not having some guys early on, you know, I was just my mindset was how were these guys gonna fit back in their terms of roles. You know, it gave me an opportunity to play some other guys and get them a lot more comfortable. But as you get into conference play, we know the sense of urgency, it goes up 10 notches. And for guys that have already been here and understand that, I think it's easy for them to understand and imagine what's going to take place. You know, for the younger guys, it's going to be an eye-opener for them. And so as a coach, as a staff, you want to keep everything as normal as possible. And that's why I don't change a whole lot. We just kind of continue to build and build with the understanding that we got to be an energy team. We got to play with energy. We got to play with that sense of urgency. The physicality is going to come now. You already know the speed of the game now, and I'm talking about some of the younger guys. They've got a sense of that, but now they're going to understand the urgency of it when you go out and play each and every game. That loose ball that you're reaching at, somebody's diving at it, 2 or 3 guys diving at it. We may need that from that deflection, so they got to have that understanding. The stops, we got to have multiple stops, man. We know that Tennessee is a tremendous offensive rebounding team. We've got to keep them off the boards, especially the Williams kid. But the Alexander kid is very, very much improved. So again, Rick has really brought in some guys that the Darrington kid is a very good player. He's JUCO All-American. And then the transfer Daniels kid they brought in is a guy that can handle the ball, can score for them. So this team, again, has evolved and one of the top 20 teams in the country.
Mike, I think the media probably didn't look too good picking Tennessee 13th in the league. What do you think? I remember talking to Mike White, and he was like, man, if Tennessee's 13th, it's really going to be a good year in the league. Has Tennessee surprised you? Because they have most of the guys back, but they were 500 last year.
No, if you look at Tennessee last year, they were like almost in a lot of games. I mean, for the most part, they almost beat North Carolina at North Carolina. You look at our ball game, that game could have went any way. So they were in a bunch of games that were close. And they got all those guys coming back for the majority of them. The core they had coming back. And, and Rick obviously going to bring in better talent. But it just shows you what, the media knows, I guess.
And you went against Rick in the Big 12. Kind of what's your thoughts on him and the games you guys have had over the years? I
just think, his team is always prepared. They don't mind getting up and down the floor with you. That's why I really feel it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think we get lost. Tennessee's a very good defensive team. I think if you look at what's taking place with their team defensively, I think they've really turned it around this year, and I think they're winning those games. Those games that were close, they're winning those games. So, and most teams are going to mirror that coach. And Rick, you guys had a chance to talk to him. Rick has been around a long time, been a lot of different places, and so he knows about basketball, he knows about players, and he knows how to win.
Yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on Daryl's passing. I think he's like 17 straight assists without a turnover. I think the last one came like in the second half against Minnesota.
Well, he's valuing the basketball. I think that's probably experience. That speaks to Daryl making much better decisions. The good thing about good players is especially coming at this level, coming from junior college or even high school, the game it kind of goes real fast. But when things start slowing down for you, and you can see it for what it is, and you take advantage of situations and opportunities, and he got a chance to be one of the elite guards in our league without a doubt. And so it just tells me he's focusing on trying to be the best player he can be and help our basketball team win.
There's been a couple games where Daryl didn't score much in the half, or maybe didn't score at all, but he had 7 assists against, I can't remember who that was. And then the other night, he had a lot of assists early. Sometimes when a guy's a scorer and he's not scoring, other parts of his game kind of fall apart. What does it say about Daryl that if he's not shooting much, or maybe they're just not going down, but he's still making plays for other guys?
I think he's understanding about winning. A lot of times guys that have scored and been gifted scores, it's about getting their numbers and getting their stats. Now he's understanding, that how can I help this team if I'm not scoring? We got some other guys that can score as well. And I think, defensively, I think he's kind of turned their mindset around. He's utilizing his quickness. The other night was one of the few times I've seen him where he plays so hard. In the second half like the first 4 minutes, that he had to get his hand up to come out. But he was playing efficient basketball. And I think that's what it equates to. Guys get a better understanding of how the whole picture, as opposed to just looking at what I do. how can I impact the team when I'm not scoring? And it's amazing. It creates more harmony on your basketball team. You don't see the ball stoppage anymore. Guys are really moving the basketball. And I always talk about the people call it the hockey assist. I think the assist that comes before the assist. To me, that's the most important pass, and we're starting to get that. But it just tells a lot. Says in Daryl's case that he wants to be a great player, and that he's listening.
Since he's really enjoying it, getting an alley-oop where a guy gets a dunk or feeding a guy with a nice pass, he's getting as much enjoyment out of passing as he is shooting.
I think he is. I think, if he has, the mindset of becoming a all-around player, especially a guy that size, you got to be able to make other guys better. See, you can create for yourself, but can you make other guys better? But he's having fun. I think our team is having fun, Bob.
Going back to your playing days as a junior college transfer, is there a big difference your second year as opposed to your first year playing? I mean, did you feel you were a much better player and that really most of the JUCO guys you coached have been better players?
Yeah, I think that is true. I think the first year you coming in, you're making adjustments. You're coming from where you played 2 years and you used to being that guy, that man. You do everything. And now you're coming and playing with guys just as good as you are. And you're trying to find your role. And you're trying to get the coach's attention, and a lot of guys think they can get the coach's attention through offense, and it's probably the opposite: defense and creating not only for yourself but for others as well, playing the game the right way. Now that second year, it really slows down, and now you have a truly understanding. You've been through the rigors of a year with a coach, with a system, with other players. See, there's a lot of adjustment. You got to get used to playing with other players. Moses leaves, now you got Daniel coming in here. And so that off season is so critical when those guys are out working individually, and even when they play the pickup game. I think it's so critical. And so the non-conference schedule, along with the exhibition, gives you an opportunity to get a feel and understanding your role a lot better and getting to play with those guys. And then not only understanding what coach is asking of you. Coming in, coaches ask you, hey, maybe to go at your own pace. With junior college kids, you can't do that. You only got 2 years. But I think those guys have learned from what took place last year. They had success last year. Well, how do you elevate that? How do you elevate that? And so I think Daryl has really worked on his game. Barford, you can see it in Barford. I mean, if you just back up and look at where these guys are last year and where they are now, they put some time in, and I think it's paying off for them.
Automatically count on more their second year than their first year?
Absolutely. Now, they got to earn it, though. I think that's the thing I make sure they understand. I'm not going to give it to you. You got to earn it. You got to earn it. And so I think for the most part, they're earning it.
I know you put this schedule together, with conference play in mind. How do you feel like that's played out? How is this? How prepared do you feel like you guys are for SEC play after the teams you've played?
I think, right off the bat, I thought this schedule it demanded us to come out and really come out swinging, come out and play at a high level. And I think we've done that for the most part. And so anytime these guys go out and play, there are going to be some lulls at times. I thought in the first half of the game the other night, I thought, that Cal State Bakersfield, I thought they kind of went right back at us. And but then I thought we found that rhythm we've been playing with all year long. So I think those games, whether we won or lost, you go to the PK 80, you go back to Sanford, Bucknell. I think our guys were really focused in on that game. And that's the biggest takeaway I get, Bob, is that, you want your guys to get better each and every day and concentrate on the practices than the games. So this is the next biggest game, which is Tennessee conference play. But when I look at the non-conference schedule up until this point, we still got one game left. But I think it has served its purpose to really get this team ready for SEC play. And we've seen all kinds of types of way teams play. We've seen that, and so hopefully it'll have us better prepared for, let's say, a Tennessee team.
I think SEC got 5 teams in the NCAAs last year. I know at media days, coaches talked about wanting to increase that. Rick Barnes said yesterday he thinks the league should get 6 in a down year. This obviously in a down year. Kind of what's your feelings about how many teams realistically from the league could get in the NCAA?
Well, I mean, if you look at, the where teams are right now, and of course it's not counting conference play, but I think you look at their records. I mean, it's probably one of the better records of any of the conferences out there. And these teams have played really quality schedules. So, I'm not smart like you guys. I can't predict all that. I mean, y'all predict all that stuff. But I think it'd be more teams than we had last year. I really, really do. And once you get into conference play, man, it's going to be war. I mean, teams are really going to be going at each other. But we got to do what we always do. We got to protect home, and then go out on that road and play some really, really quality basketball. I just want us to continue to get better. I think there's a whole lot of room for improvement for our basketball team. But our league, without a doubt, you're not going to go anywhere, and you cannot count this as a W. You got to come with it, whether you play at home or on the road, no matter where you play. And so that means at the end, when it's all said and done, I think you'll see probably even 2 or 3 more teams than we had last year in the tournament.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay.